High school winter athletics are here, and it could not have come at a better time, especially during the holiday season, which we take the time to reflect on the year that has happened, so it kind of falls into that fresh start feeling. Hello, Minot Sports fans, and welcome back to episode 18 of the Minot Sports Podcast. Moving kind of slower than usual. It's been a while since I've been on the mic. If you can't tell, or if you notice maybe right away that the sound quality might be a little different, that is because I'm recording at home with my brand new microphone. So Christmas has come and gone. I am recording currently right now on New Year's Day. And so I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday break. I know I did. Very lucky to be using my brand new microphone in action. And so let me know, guys, how it sounds. But for now, I think it sounds pretty great after going through a few test runs. But with that said, folks, welcome to episode 18. I was going to say season 2. Again, kind of moving slowly. Sorry I haven't recorded in a while, just getting through that Christmas break and also the fun events that happen usually every time to go along with it. Very fortunate to see my family. I hope you guys were able to as well. There's just always a lot of fun to it. So hello once again, guys. I'm welcoming you guys back for another episode of the podcast where we put out extensive coverage on Minot Sports in the local area. Let me tell you guys about our sponsors, or I should say our sponsor, and that is KMSU TV and radio. I know I said I'm recording from home, but that is where we do most of our recording. I'm just taking the time to give my new microphone a try here. And again, I think it works well. Just let me guys know what you think of it. Hope the quality turns out to be pretty solid when it gets fully uploaded. But yes, that is where we usually record, inside the KMSU studios. We are always very fortunate to use that every time we get behind the microphone. So go check out KMSU TV and radio. They are on social media. Instagram is KMSU TV Radio. Twitter is at KMSU19. That is the same handle also for the Facebook page. And then check out their YouTube channel. KMSU TV is the username. There's a lot of great stuff on there, folks. You can see a lot of the MSU Inside Out, the campus TV show. I was very lucky enough to be on that show as a host. For trying out my first time, I didn't think that was going to happen, but the crew saw me and my strengths in that, and they saw the strengths that the other on-air talent had, and they made sure to put everyone what best seemed fit for their positions, or how they would be fitted perfectly for each position. So if you want to check that out, again, lots of great content on there. You can follow the Minot Sports Podcast on social media. Check us out on Instagram. We are at Minot Sports Podcast. Twitter is at Minot Podcast. YouTube is the Minot Sports Podcast. And Facebook at the Minot Sports Podcast. I'm going to make a few changes, actually. Just a quick message for you guys before we get going here on the show. I'm going to make some changes to the YouTube. I think I'm going to take off all of the post and pregame interviews on there. I know I said that I didn't have much use for my personal YouTube page. Well, that's sort of changed now, as I have begun uploading all of the post and pregame interviews that I get on a daily basis, going out and covering Minot Sports. So if you want to check out my personal YouTube page, it is Cole Clementich, and you guys will see all the good videos that I will be posting on there. I only have some up for the time being from this past summer, but hopefully soon, whenever. It's going to take a while, but I should have them all up and ready for you guys to see. For those who only listen on YouTube and don't have access or don't have an account to any of the social media pages, it's perfectly fine. Try to spread out the wealth. Try to share the wealth everywhere that we can take it. So with all that said, guys, again, very glad to have you on the show. And today, like I said, winter high school athletics are back in full swing. Very awesome to see. Athletes, I'm sure this leaves them in good spirits and that there's a lot of hype and excitement to go around with it. And even though the attendance restrictions, it's unfortunate that not all of us can go, but only some. You still can't go wrong because there's still always going to be those highlights. And pretty much that's just the nature of the beast that we're dealing with right now. It's, what we have to deal with. And hopefully everything clears up and that we see some changes. Everything will be back to normal. Just fingers crossed. We see it sooner rather than later. Again, winter high school athletics are back for the likes of Bishop Bryan, our Redeemers, and Minot High. You can add on Minotauros hockey, Minot State hockey. We're going to talk which teams are hot. We'll take a look at the standings, kind of where each team sits at right now, and again, which teams are hot, which teams are doing well at the moment. And of course, we'll look through each record of the teams that we have covered so far. We're also going to do some previewing of Minot State athletics. They're back tomorrow, and it's going to be so exciting because we have not seen Minot State athletics in a while. It all goes back probably at the beginning of the school year. The NSIC announcing that there would be no fall athletics and that anything running through December 31st would be suspended. And so, it is past that date, and we announced a few episodes earlier that schedules came out for Minot State men's and women's basketball and Minot State wrestling, and we're approaching those first games for both the men's and women's basketball teams and also the MSU wrestling team. Now, a few weeks have passed, and I'm sure everyone, I hope I can speak for you guys, that we are all happy to see some more athletics on the calendar. It has been now almost 3 weeks since all the winter sports have returned for not only these athletes, but for us media members to get coverage. And if you don't remember, it was actually the North Dakota State Governor, Doug Burgum, making the decision, it was a hard one, to suspend the athletics through December 13th, and that they would start on the 14th. However, the student athletes were able to get back practicing on November 30th, so they did have some time. Each team had their fair share of time to get ready, prepared for a new season. So now we're back on kind of a normal slate. It's going to get even better once we start to add more Minot State athletics into the fold. And so be ready, folks. But looking at some of the teams that we've been going through as of late, we'll start in Class B. So that'll be between, again, the teams we covered, Bishop Bryan and our Redeemers. That goes for both boys and girls basketball. And then we also have Bishop Bryan Wrestling that we did actually back on December 15th. And so we're going to talk about some of the teams that are off to a hot start, which teams are doing good so far. First team on the list, our Redeemers Lady Knights basketball. Now, believe me when I say this, they have been on fire, and the strength has mostly been their defense. We'll also talk about what's contributing to some of the success of these teams and kind of adding on more to that of what they need to do to keep it going moving forward. Our Redeemers Lady Knights basketball, they're off to a 6-0 start to their season. That is counting their overall record. They've played 3 teams inside the Region 6 division, and the 3 other games have come from teams that are non-divisional opponents, but that didn't seem to faze them, because 6-0, 6 games in, you can't go wrong there. That's just phenomenal work that Coach Scott Peterson is doing and installing that game plan for the Lady Knights. So they are 6-0 now, and what has contributed to this start for them, from what I've noticed, is that their defense is just absolutely lights out. From the moment of tip-off, you could just see that they're so engaged. They're ready. They're anticipating already of what could possibly be the next move that their opponent's going to make. And they're just so quick to counter anything that comes at them. And with their strong defensive game comes within also leading to transition, the transition game. I have seen, I don't know the exact number, but there's just so many times where the Lady Knights would have someone just coming up on a breakaway, easy layup. It could be anyone. I've mostly seen it from Meadow Roberts and Maya Vibeto. Usually some of those guards are up there. Even I've seen it with Kendall Braun a few times. The strength of this team is their defense, and taking that, mixing it with the transition game, moving the ball quickly. They are quick to play defense and then move the ball up for easy points. Technically, you could say that this team has multiple strengths, because on the offensive side, they can attack you just any way they can. They got some players that can shoot the three. Maya Vibeto, freshman, she's really good at that. The likes of Elise Altringer and Emily Brugman, they can chip in some threes here and there. Kendall Braun, senior guard, she is also good at hitting the three. And then you got inside the paint, few options. You could go with Olivia Nelson, you can go with Aubrey Greedle. You could have both of them on the court at once. So Scott Peterson has a real luxury with this team. Just the perimeter shooters, and for the centers inside the paint, they're really good at making that execution. And I know it's kind of a cliche, but you need those to be a good basketball team. And that is what the Lady Knights are doing right now. They are firing on all cylinders, and a lot of it is coming from how good defensively they've played. And really, when they've been playing good defense, that has helped out the offense tremendously. You've seen scores where it's been 50-20 or 60 or 70-20, and it's just become normal to see that. At least they've made it look normal. Hopefully that keeps going. Obviously, stuff happens where they're going to reach into a good team, and that happens with everyone. But hopefully, we can continue to see that success that they have going. So for the Lady Knights, going on for the rest of the way through in the season, just utilizing that defense transition mix-up. And if they do that well enough, their offense is going to have a much easier time scoring. So pretty much a very well-rounded team. They make defense fun to watch. And if they keep that up, that's going to be a big key for them through the rest of the season. And now we take a look at our next team here, and that is the Minot High Magicians hockey team. For the boys, actually, before I get more into the boys hockey team here, the teams that RA Deemers has beaten to get to that undefeated 6-0 record so far, winning their season opener against Rowlett 52-33, over the TGU Titans 61-23, 62-20 over Powers Lake, 54-25 over Nedros, 58-28 over Drake Animus, and just recently 76-28 over Stanley. Those are the teams that the Lady Knights have beaten. And then for boys hockey, we can now get back on to them, talk a little bit about their fast start. And just like the Lady Knights from RE Deemers in girls basketball, they're undefeated, although they've played 2 less games than the Knights. Still, very good start for Minot High, and you can say the same for the Lady Knights. A good quality sample size, you could say, in their schedule so far. For Minot High, they opened up the season with a 2-1 win over the Botno Rugby Braves. Botno giving Minot High all that they could handle. in a very tight hockey game, but in the end, Minot High just pulling out with the win. And then you got the other Braves team from Mandan winning 5-2 over them in Minot High's home opener. Overtime victory over the Jamestown Blue Jays, 3-2, another tight hockey game. And then just recently last night, 5-1 over the Bismarck High Demons. So 4-0 in their first 4 games to start the season. And again, definitely cannot go wrong there. You certainly got to love that if you're Coach Bennett, Coach Grubb. What is the key to their success currently and for moving ahead in the season? Well, I just told you those 4 scores just a few moments ago. And in those 4 games, they've only given up 6 goals. And what do I think the key is for this team? They have been playing very well defensively, very well structured. Sometimes here and there, they do tend to give up some quality shots, but then you also got to look at the goaltending too. Look at who they have in net that is playing well. Giving up only 6 goals in 4 games this season. That's very good. Goes to show you the defensive unit has been playing very well. And then Trey Sortland in net, the senior goaltender, very much experienced. Has been in many situations before. He is no stranger to this Magicians roster, whereas maybe in some other situations, this could have been a time where he could have been getting his first start this season, but that is not the case. But for the senior goalie, he's playing well. Defensive unit is helping him out tremendously. That is a big key for this team right now and going forward in the season. Playing very well structured, very well defensively. I would say maybe limit some of those high chance opportunities, but those are going to happen every so once in a while, but really can lock down on that. Minot High can have lots of success. And it's kind of a similar situation to Ari Deemer's Lady Knights for basketball. The defense has been playing well enough to support what the offense has been doing. 15 goals scored in those 4 games, so clearly something's working there. So for Minot High boys hockey, keep going strong. Really lock down, focus in on the defensive side of the puck. Let Trey Sortland just do his thing. Come up with some big saves here and there. And defense also coming up for Trey in some moments too. And just like, again, the Lady Knights of Ari Deemers, these two are kind of very similar. Strong defense has been a great supporting cast for the offense. Not only shows on the ice and on the court, but also showing up on the stats sheets as well. So for Minot High going forward, I would say that is going to be crucial going into tourney season and state tournament time as well. I would say this team has high expectations this year to do well. Can say the same for the Lady Knights. Minot High boys hockey, there's another opportunity out there to go get a spot in the state tournament. And when you play a great defensive game, well structurally, that is going to come in handy once you play some of the better teams out east and maybe whatever competition comes out of the West region. So it should be fun to watch how they can build upon that. To our next team, despite losing all the talent to graduation, all those guys from last year, the sharpshooters like Jackson Gunville, Tucker Olson, Easton Larson in the paint, as well as he did, for how much of a transition this team has gone through. And I will admit too, I said that this team could come out firing, but mostly that they were going to be flying under the radar due to all of the talent that they lost from graduation. I will admit, guys, I had my doubts a little bit, just from all the guys that they lost, the transition that they went through. It was going to be real interesting to see how this team would perform, and I'll be honest here, they've proved me wrong. I'm not sure if any more of you have thought the same, but this team, for what they went through in the offseason, it just seems like they did not lose a step. They did not lose a beat. Minot High Magicians basketball, the boys team has such great leadership. Again, Dean Winchesky, cannot doubt him as a coach. They have a great abundance of role players that can contribute any way, shape, or form possible. They are playing really well for what they've went through. Looking at their schedule, they are also undefeated. That is through 5 games. And once again, you can make the argument there are some quality wins in there. For the season opener against Bismarck St. Mary's, 67-64. That was a close one. Another close one against Bismarck Legacy, 86-82. Another win for Minot High. Dickinson, that ousted them in the West Region tournament to go to the state tournament. Minot High beat them 90-80, so revenge tour going on. A blowout of Watford City, 104-29, and just taking down a good Jamestown Blue Jays team, 54-50, 5-0 in the standings, sitting nicely up top at first place. What is going to be the key for them currently and moving forward throughout the season? I mentioned leadership with Deontay Martinez. He is very well spoken, and the communication on the court there's a lot of it. And this team communicates well. And guys like Deontay Martinez, who he is the leader of this team for the players. He's so good at what he does, drawing into the offensive zone, whether it's through speed or just casually taking it slow. Probably you'll see it a lot with his speed though. Those pull-up jump shots, he just makes it look so easy. Teams try to combat against that, but he finds a way. He finds a way to execute very well each and every game. So he's the clear-cut leader of this team for the players, but the supporting cast, we're going to go back to that again, because this team for the Minot High boys basketball, the supporting cast, it is alive and well. You have guys like Eric Wentz, who is very stout defensively, a great two-way player on both ends, can shoot the three, but his guarding on defense is just phenomenal from what I've seen so far. Derek Dissett, sophomore, but he's gotten much faster, much quicker in his footwork. He can also score, and pretty good for his age being a sophomore. He is going to have a bright future indeed. And then you got the guys in the paint by committee. With the loss of Easton Larson, we've seen guys like Michael Ross step up on some plays. We've seen guys like Hunter McDonald doing what he can defensively, but also being able to chip some baskets here and there as well. Tegan Kinchin, he is a great three-point shooter. He will be big for this team, shooting those threes and capitalizing on them. Those are going to be huge. There are going to be some huge baskets from him. Gavin Argent can also shoot the three very well and has had an impact defensively. Morgan Nygaard, sophomore, he's been chipping in some key minutes. And then Rashawn Wilcox, Cade Butts, they are also doing very well, chipping in defensively, making their contributions be noticed. So what is the key for this team currently and moving forward? I think for this supporting cast, these key players it looks like they've already found their roles to the team. I think it's all about putting it all together and using that to go through the full season that is up ahead. And not only that, they've been able to close out teams. They've won some tight ones. You can also see that they're also very good at scoring, but defense is looking really good as well. This is a great all-around team that we're seeing in action right now. And for me, the key for them, I would think, build on what you have currently. This is a division where it's been top-heavy for a while, and already 5 games into the season, and you're 5-0, that is a huge, huge start. That is huge for this team. And again, some quality wins too. So I think with the mix of players that they have and the combinations, this team has a good rollout of players where you can get key contributions everywhere on both sides of the ball. And so for them, just keep utilizing the right players in the right situations, because Coach Dean Winchesky has a great mix of those that can score and those that can provide great work defensively too, that can guard well. A major difference I've seen with this team compared to last year, guys like Jackson Gunville, Tucker Olson, they were sharpshooters. It was pretty much a shooting gallery for this team, and there was a lot of high octane offense for the team this year. You're seeing lots of great defensive work and a supporting cast with, again, players that are filling key roles. And being able to put that all together, I think that is going to be really big for them going through the season. Just being able to put it all together, continue with what's working, keep putting the right players in the right positions, and of course, don't doubt in Coach Dean Winchesky. For now, this is a great situation that the boys basketball team is in right now. So again, for them, just keep rolling with what they got going. Do not sleep on them. There was a belief that this team could fly under the radar with all the changes that they went through, with all the sharpshooting talent that they lost due to graduation. Well, they're letting their presence be known, and they're performing very well so far. Again, do not sleep on them because they're letting us know they're very capable and competitive once again so far. It is amazing to see what they have been able to do. And like that, they have not lost a step. And starting well this early, that looms large. And so we'll see, just like the other teams. Hopefully they can keep that up with all the keys to their success now and going forward as well. And the last team that I have on the list that is off to a very hot start, if you know them very well, this should come as no surprise that Minot High Magicians swim and dive, I should say, off and running once again, just taking down, winning, just destroying anybody that is in their path. 3-time back-to-back defending state champions. Yep, once again, they are just going strong each and every meet. For them, just keep the strong core, that strong foundation, that culture, just keep her going. Keep continuing, swim hard, swim fast. This team's good once again, and so it should be no surprise that they're off again doing so well. Taking a look at some of the other Minot sports teams and how they are doing currently, that is it for the list of teams that are doing hot right now. But taking a look at some of the other local athletics here in town, Minot High girls hockey, it doesn't show the standings, unfortunately, but looking at their schedule, they are 3-1-1, so 3 wins. One of them in the shootout over Jamestown, it was 4-3. They lost the home opener to Williston in overtime. That was 2-1. They beat the Grand Forks Knight Riders 3-2 on the road. That was big. Shutting out Dickinson 4-0, actually being played on the Mesa Arena's Eck rink, the middle rink just next door to the Pepsi rink. Clearly something was happening where they had to use the middle rink instead of the Pepsi rink. I mentioned the shootout win over Jamestown, and then Majets got shut out recently versus the Fargo Davies Eagles 3-0. And so that is where the Majets are at right now. Have to say, not a bad start for them as they're getting started, just like the other Minot sports teams. Going to our Redeemers Knights basketball for the boys. Not as successful as what the Lady Knights are doing right now, but still pretty good start. Can't complain. I mean, just a few tough losses against some good teams like Beulah and Shiloh Christian. For Knights, the boys basketball team, opening up the season at home versus the Central McLean Cougars, winning 73-57, and then going on that 2-game skid, losing to Beulah 60-48, and then a close one with Shiloh Christian 62-56, but then rebounding, winning over Nedros 60-42 and 79-64 over North Star. So again, certainly not a bad start for your Knights. Continuing on in Class B boys basketball, Region 6, District 12, the Bishop Ryan Lions have only played 2 games, but obviously that is going to change here in the coming days, so they will have more games to be played for sure. Schedule might get a little heavy, but honestly, For them being 1-1, that one loss, it was a close one. Their one loss came just like our Redeemers, also losing to the Shiloh Christian Skyhawks. That was 55-53 for Shiloh getting the win. But the Lions, also in a close match with the Hazen Bison, winning 50-47 in their home opener. So 1-1 for your Lions in boys basketball. I think once they start to pick up games here, they should still continue to be rolling out more games and hopefully clinching out some more tight ones, but we'll see how that goes. As for the Lady Lions in Class B basketball, they've played more games than the boys have, as they are 1-3 in their first 4 games. The season opener, it was a 37-33 victory for Kenmare. Then Bishop Bryan winning by 10 points over Hazen, 37-27, and then losing to Shiloh Christian. So a lot of Minot sports teams making the trip down to Bismarck to play the Shiloh Christian Skyhawks. That one was 52-35 for the Hawks, and then Dunseith losing in a heartbreaker for Bishop Bryan against Dunseith, 60-57, and that is where your Lady Lions are at for the time being. We've seen a little bit of Bishop Bryan Lions wrestling. They actually hosted a quadrangular in their home gym to start off the season, and that would be all of their home matches for the season. It would just be 3 of them all in one night in a lengthy event. For their first match, they defeated Rugby 48-12. Next one, they beat Killdeer 36-22, then went undefeated in the quadrangular 35-31 over Northern Lights. However, in the triangular at Carrington High School, they lost to the Carrington Cardinals 55-18 and Lisbon 72-12. Boy, that was a blowout for Lisbon. But for the Lions, 3-2. Again, not a bad start for them. Hopefully, like always, we can see them rebound and make some strides throughout the season. And don't let those tough losses, like that one against Lisbon and Carrington, tough ones, but it's all about how can they rebound from it. We will see their response, and hopefully it is with success. For Minot High School in wrestling, actually, there's only been one match for them. Their schedule is really condensed, as at least what it seems like so far. But in their season opener at Dickinson, they lost to the Midgets 40-30, competitive one. Magi making it close. Hopefully kind of pushing, well, actually probably were pushing for maybe a comeback in there. Maybe they were leading. I don't know the exact results of whether they were leading or not at one point, but 40-30, that's pretty close against a good wrestling squad that Dickinson has from year to year. But 0-1 for Minot High Magicians Wrestling, starting off their season. And then I believe this should be the last team to get through. If I forget a team, let me guys know. But I believe this is the last one. If not, hopefully I can correct myself or you guys will notice it right away. Minot High Magets Basketball, not a bad start. Kind of one of those teams also, like the boys from our Redeemers, Magets Hockey, not bad. 3-2. I mean, sometimes it can be casual to start like this, or rather normal, I should say. Not usually casual, but sometimes it's normal for teams to start the way they do. Obviously, you want to get all those wins in there, but sometimes that's just the nature of sport. But for Minot High Magets Basketball, home opener against the Williston Coyotes. They blew them out, blew them way out of the water. 99-33, good start to the season. 63-35 over Bismarck St. Mary's. Losing to Bismarck Legacy, which they've started to make some huge strides to be a top contender in the WDA. They lose to the Sabres 91-73. Lost to Watford City, that features Emma Moggan and Ashley Holan, future MSU Beavers. Hopefully I did not butcher any names. If I did, I apologize. But Watford City having a breakout year for the girls basketball team. So that kind of puts an interesting outlook to the girls West Region division. That'll be interesting to see where that goes as the season moves along. But certainly for Minot High, once again, just another team to compete with. Hopefully Minot High will be sitting around a spot where it allows them to compete, and of course, hopefully have some success going into regionals, and we'll see from there. And their last game, pretty good one, I'd say, 68-65 over the Jamestown Blue Jays, getting a last-second three-pointer, a game winner before the buzzer. Definitely cannot go wrong with that at all. So there you have it, just kind of an update on the Minot sports teams in winter athletics. I know I'm super excited, and I'm sure you guys are, to be getting some more sports action on the feed, on the mix. And before winter athletics came back for high school, we witnessed a lot of Toros hockey going on at home, and just a little quick update on them, as they've been playing a few road games in Bismarck after playing so many home games. Just the restrictions and the guidelines, there's a lot of variables happening in the North American Hockey League currently, where just some teams can't play and some teams have been playing lots of home games, and the Toros are one of those teams that have already a lot of home games on the schedule. But the last time we saw them, they went up in a weekend series against the St. Cloud Norsemen, where they won 8-6 for game 1, lost 3-1 in the second game of this series. So they've moved along in the schedule to play the Bismarck Bobcats on the road a few times, actually 3 games. Back on December 18th, they lost to the Kitties 6-3. Kyle Kukkonen with 2 goals, Jack Westland with 1 goal and 1 assist, Keenan Ranciere with 27 saves. And then the next 2 games would be ugly, as it was some tough breaks for Minot, as they just could not get any scoring going. The next 2 games against the Bobcats, they would lose 4-0 and also 3-0. So tough way to go out in 2020, but there is still a strong chance and opportunity for the Toros to rebound, come back stronger. I think they can figure out Bismarck at some point, whether it be at home or on the road. But that is some of the latest in the Minotauros. Obviously, they're not high school level, but they were not a part of the winter athletics startup. Those were all the high school teams. Minotauros are junior team, obviously, and they have been playing games before this winter athletics startup, but certainly cannot forget about them. So now, with the addition of all the winter high school athletics being added to the schedule, we're going to get even more reinforcements starting up here soon. And again, remember when the NSIC made the decision to suspend all athletics running through December 31st? Well, now we're on to January 1st, the new year, and it was quite a bit before the new year that we got schedules for Minot State men's and women's basketball, and for the wrestling team as well. Home opener begins for Minot State men's basketball team tomorrow, January 2nd, 5 o'clock. First series will be up against Southwest Minnesota State. Little bit of notes here on some of the guidelines and restrictions with the NSIC and NCAA. It would just be too much to hold both teams in one arena. So, plus you incorporate a condensed schedule that makes it even more tough. So it's in conference games only, no non-conference opponents. The weekend series will be one team will play at the Dome. It'll be the same road team for the weekend. So for this weekend, for example, Minot State men's basketball, they're going to be the home team hosting the Southwest Minnesota State Mustangs. Meanwhile, the women's team will be at Southwest Minnesota State for a weekend series. So that'll be like that. All conference opponents for this season. Men's team will be at the Dome for a little bit, hosting some games, and then they'll switch it over to the women's team. They'll host some games at the Dome for a bit. It's going to be a long stretch of games at the Dome where one of the men's or women's team will be hosting games. And then, of course, obviously, you got Minot State wrestling in there. They'll be getting going shortly after when basketball gets started. But what an exciting time, because we finally get to see some college athletics after witnessing some cancellations, some setbacks, but it is only going to lead to a bigger and better comeback. I've been kind of preaching that on my Instagram, well, rather all my pages, I should say, on social media. And I'm sure the athletes are excited. They're in good spirits, just like when the winter athletes for high school, when they were just getting started in their new seasons after missing out on a fall season. This is big. We finally get to see some college athletics finally in action, and so it's going to be a lot of fun. And just looking over these teams, if I remember correctly, kind of previewing both Minot State men's and women's basketball, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they ended with the same record. Overall, I believe they were both 4-18. Most of their losses came within conference play, and so with the schedule being just conference opponents only, it's going to be tough. But with what the teams went through last year, for the men's team, I couldn't really spot out what was a major issue besides maybe they just had a setback where it was quite interesting. And maybe it was kind of one of those rebuild years where, just what happened? And it was kind of hard to pick that out because this team's not that far off. Just a couple years ago, they were competing and they were actually doing pretty solid. They were sitting nice and easy, kind of middle of the pack in that NSIC conference, where last year it was bottom feeders for the men's team and also for the women's team. I think with some of the retooling and adjustments made, I think we see these teams rebound. Would love to see lots of success, but sometimes obviously doesn't work out that way. Maybe we see some slight improvement, or maybe we do see some major improvement from these teams, because like I said, I know the men's, they're not that far off, and I would say the same for the women's team too. There's real opportunity for them to rebound this year, figuratively and literally, actually. Because I could not quite pick out what was the setback. Obviously, there were some tough losses that were close, but also a lot that were not very good on the scoreboard. But again, it was kind of, I guess you could say, a rebuild year for both teams, where they probably took some time to, figure out what was up and what was going on, and maybe they now have the tools to have a better year. For the men's team, they've got sharpshooters, they've got guys who can play in the paint, they've got those guys that can fill roles and do what normal basketball teams do. Defensively, that would be my question, as there were some major losses last year where it was Minot State just got down early, they could not recover from it, and some close games too, some that they just couldn't close out. Again, like I said, some of these games, the wins some of them were against non-conference opponents, but the majority of the losses were within the conference. So big problem. I think last year there was just a lot. Both teams were either getting down early or staying with it, being competitive, but unable to close it out. I think not just the men's team, but the women's team also, I think they know what they have and what went wrong, and I believe they made the adjustments to go out there and have a rebound year. If it's not significant improvement, we see something better than what last year had. And for the women's team, how do they rebound without Mariah Payne? Just all-worldly, amazing player, leader for this team. She's gone now due to graduation. How does the team respond? Is it all now up to a group effort to collect the scoring? Will there be a player that will rise to the occasion and that will take over as that star leader? I've been hearing a lot of great things about Amber Steven. She's got great potential, and I think there's lots of other great players with potential to break out for the women's team. And I'll say the same for the men's team as well. There's a lot of potential. Despite the bad years, these could have been flukes. These could have been fluky happenings where it's just hard to pick out what was the main cause of it. Yes, both teams were getting down early and were unable to recover from it. just tough breakdowns on defense, or again, I'm going to keep mentioning this, they were in tight competitive matches, but just not able to close out their opponent. But I think that, again, there is potential that both of them do better. And they've brought in some nice players to complement some of the stars and maybe even bring out some amazing performances from them. I truly think we can see these teams rebound from the bad seasons that happened last year. It could have been a fluke. It could actually be a real problem. Obviously, you want to tighten up the defense and remain more competitive, making those shots, I would say, for both teams, because again, they were just, for the most part, I saw that they were getting down early and unable to recover. I think if that gets cleaned up, and of course, obviously, the coaches know better, but I think if that gets cleaned up, we see some improvement. I don't know the extent of it, even if it's just minor improvement. That's something that's better than, again, what we had last year. I think there's potential to be better for both Minot State men's and women's basketball. I know I've kind of rambled on the same things a little bit, but those are just kind of my thoughts, and I will get to learn more as I start going to these games again. I will get some more better insight on them, but if it were me, I say we see some improvement and there's some potential. The extent of it, I would say, is to be determined. I say that because these teams aren't that far off from where they were a couple years back. I know especially for the men's team, it's just kind of a weird year last year, like what just happened. And so that is kind of my main reasoning why I have that as a prediction. But like always, for all sports starting up new seasons, we should be very excited, be very fortunate enough that we get the opportunity to watch these games. I'm not quite sure on the attendance. I've heard kind of more one side of the story where it looks like they are going to let in fans, but I've also have seen that there are some intense guidelines where I'm not quite sure the full story. There may not be fans at all. There may be some, probably. If I were to guess, there would probably be some fans in the building. I know for media, they're restricted at this time, and I will learn more as I go along, but I only know so much on that front. But as always, guys, like I said, take anything we can get, and I'm excited. I'm pretty sure you guys are excited too. It's going to be a good time finally getting to roll into college athletics where it was just lost for a little bit. And ladies and gentlemen, Minot sports fans, hope you guys are having a wonderful, safe, and happy new year. Hopefully you guys had a great holiday season as well. We're on the up and up in the Minot sports world, and we just gotta hope that there aren't any more repercussions, fingers crossed, that hopefully there aren't any setbacks. But right now, we're seeing the return of high school winter athletics. We just previewed Minot State, Beavers, and basketball and wrestling. They'll be back. Hopefully, everything's on a normal schedule now, where we can see a normal state for spring athletics, for softball, baseball, whoever else involved. Minot sports fans, there are going to be lots of games on the schedules. There's going to be lots to do, although kind of restricted at the moment, but we're reaching a state of normalcy, people. So, should be very fun, very exciting. But with that said, Minot sports fans, that is episode 18 of season 2 of the Minot Sports Podcast. Of course, each and every episode is brought to you by KMSU TV and radio. You can go check them out on social media, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and the Minot Sports Podcast as well. Be sure to follow us on those very same social media platforms where we post all the latest in Minot Sports content and KMSU, what is happening inside Minot State Broadcasting. Hopefully can kind of get some more content out there, maybe for a few other pages, but I know some are more active than others, but you won't want to miss out in case anything does get posted. But yes, big thank you, as always, to KMSU TV and radio for our sponsors. I know I didn't record in the studios, testing out my new microphone. Hope you guys got some wonderful gifts this past Christmas. And with that said, folks, that is going to do it. Thank you for tuning in to the Minot Sports Podcast. This has been season 2 of episode 18. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care. This has been your host of the show, Cole Clementich, and you guys have a good day and take care.